Hey, Edward Dose, welcome to my show. Glad to have you. How are you today?
I'm very good. How are you doing? I'm doing so good that it should be illegal. I've got my Irish coffee sitting in front of me, and I'm all ready to go. So
well, beautiful. I have the cannabis equivalent, so
nice.
we're ready to go.
Yep, we're
So,
good.
legend has it that you are quite the concert photographer.
That's what they tell me. Yeah, been doing it for a really long time. When I first started out, you wanted to know how I started out.
Yeah,
Uh,
tell me how you got started.
I used to work for Mr. Nicks, Stevie Nicks' dad, I think it was, either her dad or her uncle. I'm not quite sure. Those days are a little fuzzy.
Sure.
But he was, those stories about, the teachers that made a big difference in my life. And, this was the turning point person in my life. That was him. When I first went to him, I walked up to Compton Terrace and I said, "Who's in charge?" And they said, "Mr. Nix." And I said, "Where can I find him?" And he's over in that trailer. I don't think you want to talk to him. I said, "Yeah, I do." So I walked in and he said, "Who are you?" And I was 16, 17 years old,
Yep.
and I was about that big, and long hair, and I said, "I want a job." He goes, "You're too young, I can't give you a job." I said, "Well, I'm not leaving until you give me a job." And I wouldn't leave, and I just kind of stayed there and pretty much argued with him for a couple minutes, and finally he said, "So what do you want to do?" And I said, "I'll do anything you want me to do, as long as it's here." And
Yep.
he went through this big verbal list of things that I was allowed to do and what I wasn't allowed to do. Some of the major ones were I can't tell any of my friends that I worked there, because then they would want backstage passes. I wasn't allowed to mess with the entertainment. Wasn't allowed to bother them at all. Um, you know, Stuff like that. And if you bust your ass, I'll keep you here. And if I catch you screwing around, you're out. And I'm not paying you, but I'll introduce you to everybody that comes. So I said, perfect. I'm good. And really, I think the first show that I did was the Doobie Brothers, which I don't remember because I was too busy busting my ass.
Let
But
me
I
stop. Let me stop you and ask you two things.
yeah,
First off, where was this in the country?
Tempe, Arizona.
Tempe, Arizona. And how old were you at this time?
16, 17 years old.
Awesome. Go ahead.
And so I would, I'd cut school because you have to be there to set the stage. You have to be there like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning
Yep.
when the trucks get there. And then you bust your ass all day building the stage and doing whatever everybody needs. And then the show happens, and then you have to tear everything down. So you're pretty much there almost 24 hours. Everybody is a little different with their stage stuff. Sometimes it would, be 15 hours, 20 hours, whatever. But I was there for a long haul, and
That still hasn't changed.
yeah. So I mean, I don't do any backstage stuff anymore, so I don't know if they've gotten it to be quicker or not. But back then, we really had to bust our ass and do stuff, and I made a lot of friends, and Mr. Nix was awesome. Um, I worked for him for a few years. There's one instance that I like telling the story is Def Leppard was there, and I didn't have a pass because everybody there knew me,
Sure.
except the band that was coming in, and I didn't really have any uh, in touch with them. And I was standing on the side of the stage, and Def Leppard's manager came up and he's poking me in the chest. And who the fuck are you? And get off my fucking stage. And, who let you back here? And out of the corner of my eye, I saw Mr. Nix coming, and I thought, oh my God, I'm fired, I'm in trouble. And um, and he walked up and he started poking the manager in the chest. And this is Eddie. He can do what he wants. If he walks out there and sings with your singer on stage, he can do so. He works. You don't talk to him like that. And the longer he talked, the bigger my chest got. And I'm like, yeah. And the guy left and walked to the other side of the stage. And Mr. Nix turned around and said, "Don't ever let anybody talk to you like that. You bust your ass around here and you work for me, and don't ever let anybody talk to you like that ever in your life." And I was like, okay. And he slaps me on the back. He says, "All right, have a good time." And then like
What a great experience, man.
2 minutes after that, do you remember Fantasy Island?
Sure.
TV show. So the I don't know what the correct term is. The shorter person in the TV show.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there watching Def Leppard, and you know how your vision catches, maybe somebody standing next to you or something. So I noticed there was a kid standing next to me. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I'm watching the show, and all of a sudden the kid lights up a cigar. And I'm like, what? And I looked down, and it was him. And the only thing I could say, because I was in shock, was the plane, the plane.
Tattoo, yeah.
He got so pissed, man.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
got so mad and stomped off. And I just started laughing. I thought it was funny,
It's funny you say that, because I just watched a video last night about him, and he committed suicide, but
Yeah.
these rough marriages.
Yeah.
He had a rocky road, but that's great. So
Yeah.
that's an awesome experience, man, to be that
Oh, yeah.
age and to be in that environment. And most importantly, you're learning some very valuable lessons. You're learning about professionalism, you're
Yeah.
learning about responsibility and being there on time and making it happen.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. He was great. He was absolutely great. And you didn't want to get in trouble with him because he'd make you feel like really tiny. But
Yeah.
at the end of it, at the end of his lecture or yelling, he'd always slap you on the back and say, "Okay, now get to work." And so he knew, you knew, yes, I'm in trouble. Yes, he didn't like what I did, but he still loves me. Go to work.
It's
So,
it's the Don Rickles style. I'm going to rip on you, and then I'm going to tell you how much I love you.
yep, 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 yeah. He wasn't that nice to a lot of people, but I really busted my ass, and I was always very uh, intelligent about the way I went along. Not that I am now, but I was very intelligent about the way I talked to everybody and dealt with everybody and took care of everybody. So he liked that. Very respectful to everybody and he held up his side of the bargain too. He introduced me to everybody that came. Um, the Doobie Brothers and Ronnie James Dio and Stevie Nicks and Robert Plant and all these people. I mean, I would go to his office and he would say, "Eddie, do you know this guy?" And I say, "Yes." And Robert Plant sitting there or Steven Tyler, and I'm, "Yep, yep, yep, man, nice to meet you." And and I always made it very short because I didn't want to take up anybody's time.
Yep.
And I really, that age, you're like, oh my God, Steven Tyler, you feel
Yep.
like you're in Wayne's World. But, I just kept it very respectful and very short. And, he always kind of made it a little longer. Eddie's been working for us for, so long, and he really busts his ass around here. And if you need anything, you talk to him. And, he was a great guy. I liked him. I really did. A lot of people didn't, but I liked him. I got along with him very well.
Yeah,
And
seems like a straight shooter.
yeah, and the way I got into photography, he knew that I took pictures because I would show him pictures of girlfriends and stuff like that. Um, so and he knew that Aerosmith and Steven Tyler were my heroes. And when Aerosmith came, he called me into the office, and I went, and Steven Tyler was there, and he said, "Do you know this guy?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Your job today, your only job today, is to make sure that Steven Tyler is not alone." So, okay, and I thought he was giving me a gift because he knew that Steven Tyler was my hero. And the older I get, the more I realize that he wasn't giving me a gift. He was making sure that Steven didn't get in trouble so he could still perform on stage. But I had a great time. I had a great day. Steven and I rode around on ATVs, had lunch together and screwed around, and we just had a great time. And I hear horror stories about Steven Tyler too. And I got to tell you, that day he was like my older brother. I mean, it was just like instant older brother. I don't know what Mr. Nix told him about me before I went in there, but Steven was instant older brother. We had a great time. I don't think that he would ever remember it because of the state of mind that he was in, but I had a great day. I really did. It was probably the best day in rock and roll, my rock and roll life that I ever had. It was awesome.
Yeah, I
And
mean, that's epic.
yeah, and Mr. Nix told me to take pictures of him throughout the day, and I did. Took pictures of the show, took pictures after the show when they were getting in the limousine and stuff like that, which is another story of what happened at that point. But yeah, it's just really incredible. And after that, um, he had me take pictures, not very many pictures, but pictures of the show, and that he would, I would print up at the local, our photo and bring it back and give to him. And I'd give him the negatives and everything. And the next time I go, I'd see this big, huge picture of Stevie Nicks in his office. And that's the way it went while I worked there. And, that's the way it started.
That's great. And what happened with the Aerosmith limo?
The Aerosmith limo, I was taking pictures of Steven Tyler. He was right in front of me, and he was getting in the car, but he was making faces, doing all this stuff for me as I was taking pictures. And behind him, like if I'm sitting here, behind him, I see this arcing thing flying in the background. And I was like, what the hell is that? It kind of looked like somebody threw a towel or something. I'm like, wow, what is that? And then immediately all this commotion happened, and hundreds of people were just storming the area behind the limo across the street. And Steven said, we need to get out of here. So he got in the limousine and left. And I was kind of watching, and all these people were all over the place. So I ran over, and what had happened, long story short or shorter, this guy had drunk driver, no lights, had hit this kid that was crossing the street. And the towel that I saw that was flying up in the air was the kid.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So I've got pictures in my camera of the car and the kid flying up in the air and the car taking off. It was a hit and run.
With Steve's face in the front going,
yep, exactly.
My God.
And being 17 years old, I thought, well, it's kind of my duty, I guess, to tell the police I have pictures of this whole thing happening. So I went and told the cop, and I had to write a report, and then, where's the film? And here's the film. And, okay, well, we're going to confiscate the film for evidence, and you'll get it back. And I'm like, I'm talking to a cop and I'm high.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, just
sure, whatever.
Sign the paper and whatever.
Yeah.
Just don't arrest me for being high. And I never saw the film again. There was a couple rolls of film that Mr. Nix got of Steven and the show, but those pictures of Steven in front of the limo or in the front of the door of the limo are gone. I never got them back. But apparently, and what I heard a couple years later is the kid got an ungodly amount of money because of my photographs showing the lights weren't on in the car,
Yeah.
and being hit, and yeah, so it was crazy. It was a crazy couple minutes. Yeah,
Yeah, that is unnerving.
yeah, yeah.
Definitely
And
unnerving.
I took pictures after that of shows, and I continued to take pictures because of all the connections that I made in the business working with Mr. Nix. And I would go from LA to Phoenix and back and forth. Um, and I would continue to take concert pictures, but it was really just for me. Uh, I never ever imagined that anybody would want to see my work. Um, it was really just for me, and I just took pictures. I never submitted them anywhere, never did anything with them. Had pictures and negatives and everything in the storage box that I carried around with me for years, and never did anything with them. I mean, I've got pictures of Robert Plant walking around the field at Compton Terrace with shorts that should have been illegal. Uh, you know, playing playing soccer, or not, kicking the ball around and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I've got pictures of, AC/DC and Ronnie James Dio and Stevie Nicks and all these people. And I never really did anything with them. And I have no idea where that film is, no idea where the pictures are. I've got 500 boxes in the garage, and I doubt that I still have those pictures. I didn't really start concentrating on, oh, maybe people are interested in these pictures, until about 4 or 5 years ago, when I started paying more attention to the internet and things like that, and that's when I really started to store the pictures on hard
Right.
drives and print them and share them with other people and stuff like that. And they've gotten a lot of recognition. People like them, because I don't do the normal concert pictures where it's they're just there.
Yeah.
I wait for an instant uh, that's special to me. I just don't click 5 million pictures. I wait for an instance that's special to me. This picture of Elton John, he's actually crying in that picture. He had just given a speech about why he was retiring, and this and that and the other thing, and thank you very much for being with me all these years, and he was crying, and I was like 15 feet away from him, and I'm like, oh my God, and I took a bunch of pictures. And then he put his hand on the piano that he's got there. And it was kind of like, it reminded me of like when your pet dies, you just kind of, pat your, like, thank you so much for being with me all these years. And it was very upsetting. I mean, even now it's like emotional to talk about because it was very emotional at the moment, and I just captured this picture of him just, you know it was like my friend is going away. It was really crazy.
Yeah, he's quite the entertainer, and
Oh yeah,
he's had
yeah, yeah.
quite the career. A little known secret about Elton John that I'll share with you and anyone watches is that he is absolutely the loudest performer that I've ever dealt with on stage.
Really.
His pocket that he sits in at that piano. If you ever
Right.
seen you've seen him live, right?
Oh yeah.
He's got a wedge on each side of him with a
Yeah.
12 and a 2-inch in each side. Behind him, he has two double 15 and 2-inch with a 2-inch
Yeah.
horn wedges
Yeah.
behind him, and he has the stage right side fill rig that's
Right.
behind him. Right when you sit at Elton's piano and you take your finger and you bring it down on a key, I swear to God, it's like someone hit you in the skull with a hammer. It's unfucking believable. It's unfucking believable. I've stood with my arms folded like 10 feet back and seen a fly go in front of Elton's mic, come through the ring. because it's so fucking loud. That piano, that piano volume that he plays at, it's
Yeah.
it's incredible. Louder than Slayer. Let me say,
Oh, really? Oh my
louder
God.
than Slayer. There's no heavy metal band that is louder than Elton
Wow.
John's pocket that he sits in.
Right.
You know.
Right. I think
Now,
he's a sweet guy. Have you met him? I think he's a sweet guy. He's like my favorite aunt.
I have friends of mine that have worked for him for decades.
Mm, yeah.
And I've got a lot of Elton stories that I can't share. But I will say this: he is a awesome performer, and he goes out there and he gives it to the fans, man.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now let me ask you a couple questions.
Yeah.
Um, so how old were you when you stopped being a stagehand in Tempe?
Uh, Mr. Nix moved me up from being a stagehand to performer's helper, a personal assistant kind of thing.
Artist liaison.
Yeah. So I would be the go-to person between whoever and the artist. And if the artist needed anything, I would run and get that and take care of them. And that was the next step that he gave me because I was so respectful to everybody.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what's all. And back to what you said earlier about meeting artists and keeping it short and keeping it sweet. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what it's all about. So how long did you do that for?
I think I worked for him for about 4 years, and then he would kind of pimp me out to the other places in Phoenix, and Los Angeles. Hey Ed, there's a
It's
show.
the I-10 run, baby.
Yeah, and he would pimp me out. He'd
Yeah.
say, okay, next week you're going to LA, or next week you're doing this in Phoenix, and and the week after that you're coming back here and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, whatever. So whatever he wanted me to do, I did. And then I worked for him. I think total probably maybe 4 years, 5 years, maybe 5 years.
Into your early 20s.
Yeah, I was probably 19, I think. So maybe 4 years.
Mhm.
You know, and he would just pimp me out. And then finally I went to LA and just worked in LA, off and on out there. I didn't have the connection so much with the people in LA that I did with Mr. Nix, but they knew who I was, to the point where I could, if there was a show, I could just walk right in, and I'm here kind of thing. And
Now let me ask you this: how were you getting your camera in the venue for Elton shows like this? Were you having it? Do you have a press pass?
I have a press pass. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a press pass. So I would, most of the concerts that I do now are connected because of the people that I have known throughout my past. And I would call them or text them or email them and say, hey, you guys are coming to, Seattle. Can I get a press pass and photo pass? And they're like, yeah, whatever you need. So it's okay. So
Yeah, nice, man.
yeah. So
Nice.
it's kind of nice to have, but I think as soon as people see my work, and know that I'm a legit person, or a legit photographer, then they're like, yeah, whatever you need. Yeah, here it is. So
Yeah,
it's
since I grew up grew up in the business when I did, when we were so adamant about taking people's cameras in the venue. Like you see a
yeah,
flash from the stage. I mean, there's no hiding it. I see it's in row 22, it's in seat 3.
yeah,
Send the security guy out there, get the camera.
yeah,
And because that was the standard for 20, 30 years, right?
yeah.
Of snatching people's cameras out. What happened now that in 2023, when you're on the internet looking for shows and looking for it's hard to find. It's hard to find pictures from shows uh that taken by audience members because everyone had their camera snatched from
Yeah, yeah,
it's not like today, you look at a artist from the past 20 years since the invention of the camera phone,
yeah.
that we have all these shots from all these artists. But I wonder sometimes if it was a mistake to stop people from taking pictures. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, look at the shows now. I mean, I've got a photograph of somebody at Brit Floyd, who my friend Andy plays with, and I went to the show, and everybody's got their cell phone out, watching their cell phone instead of watching the show.
Yeah,
I've
we have nothing in the middle.
Yeah, and I've got this really awesome picture of uh, this concert where one guy is standing up, and he's like, yeah, and everybody else is with their cell phones. To answer your question, I think if we had let everybody bring their cameras in, it would have been the same thing back then that it is now. Everybody would have their camera up, uh, and you would get 5 million shitty pictures, uh, you know, blurry
Yeah.
colors on stage
Uh,
with little white dots on them, and or you would have, maybe you could have a couple good ones from the people that were up against the bar, but I don't think it was a mistake. I think,
yep.
you know, enjoy the damn show. You're there, you're seeing it live, enjoy it. And that's the one thing about doing the photography that I don't like, is because I'm so focused on what they're doing and the lighting and what's going on in the song, so I know what they're going to do next. uh you know is Slash going to do this, and kind of stuff, that I'm not really listening to the show. And people have asked me, well, how was the show? I have no fucking clue. I didn't hear any of it. I was just
Yeah.
there to take pictures. So
Well, there's one thing between hearing and listening,
yeah,
and just because
yeah,
you hear it doesn't mean you're listening to it. And as you say, I mean, you're there in a job function and that you're thinking about the process of what you're trying to accomplish.
right,
That's what
right,
your mindset's on. It means
yeah,
listen, I do one tour a year, and I can tell you straight that I don't see 1 minute of the show
yeah,
because
yeah,
I'm focused on my job at hand and what's
yeah,
happening on stage. I couldn't possibly give a shit. I have other things to be that take up my time and energy.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
You
I
know?
I take I don't I do a lot of different photography, and one of the parts of photography that I do is I take nudes, which I've done for the past 40 years. And it's funny because all my friends are like, you take pictures of nude women? Like, yeah, but when I'm taking photographs, I really don't pay attention that they're nude. I'm too focused on lighting, focus and posing, and trying to hide bits and pieces. And I really don't notice that they're nude. So it's the
Yeah.
same thing with taking rock pictures. There's too many things going on that I need to pay attention to. Am I going to trip over the security guy? Am I going to trip over behind the security bar in the front? They have these legs so you can't push the bar over. So,
It's the barricade supports.
yeah. So, am I going to trip over that? Is the lighting going on? Is the guitarist over here, or is the guitarist over there? Is the singer here? Where are they going at the next second? And is the lighting going to blind me because it keeps moving around? And there's too many things to focus on other than,
Oh, it's tight. It's tight because you're down there, you're in between the subs and the barricade. You got the security guys coming back and forth. You have the legs coming out and the steps that the guys could stand up on to push
yeah,
the people back. And then the moment the show's over, you got some dick like me that's
yeah,
telling you, "Hey, get the fuck out of here! Come on, let's go, because I gotta
yeah,
unplug the subs."
yeah,
I got to get the front fills out of here. They're trying to get the barricade out here so we can push the stuff out. And
yeah.
there's a camera guy dicking around. Like,
Well, I think that's the cool part of be about having the history that I do, is because I used to do the stage
yeah,
build-ups and tear downs. So I know what that process is. So when I see something happening before the show, I know what they're doing. And when the show is over, I'm gone,
yeah,
because you got to get out of the way, because these guys want to go home, or they want to get on the bus and go to the next show.
That's what
So
it's all about, man.
it's
That's
not something that you're standing around going, "Hey man, can I get that guitar pick that's on the floor over there?" As he's got 500 feet of freaking cord rolling around, and he's like, "Can I have the set list?"
yeah.
No, just leave them alone and let them do their job because they want to get the hell out of there. So
Yeah, I've had my moments of mercy where I stop, pull the set list off, and give it to somebody. And
yeah,
if there's a pick, I'll throw it. But for the most part, I'm really on the move. And I tell everyone that I work with that if you start giving out set lists and picks to everyone that asks for it, lighting's going to load up before us.
yeah.
We gotta stay focused at the mission at hand. So
Some of
that
the cool things I do have something that's really cool in my
let's
possession.
let's hear
Uh,
it.
that Mr. Nix gave me. It's a lighting case. You just mentioned lighting. It's a lighting case. It's about 5 feet long, 3.5 feet high, by maybe a foot, 18 inches across, with wheels, and it's from Led Zeppelin, and it's got uh, um, Jimmy Page's address on the top. It's really weird. I don't know where he got it. I don't
That's
know
a
if it's
weird
real.
dimension. That's a weird dimension case. When you're describing it, I thought it'd be maybe a spotlight case.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it was for. I don't know if it's real. I don't know what's up with it. I think he just wanted it out of his office. He used to have it in his office, and there was books and pictures on top of it. And then when they were moving to Firebird Raceway, he asked me if I wanted it. I said yeah. So I took it and put it with my dad's stuff, and left it there. And then when my dad died, I got it back. I was like, wow, I completely forgot about this. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
dig that. And let me ask you this: what year was it that you were 17 and stagehanding?
maybe 9, 10 months before the US Festival. Uh, so it was 83, maybe 82.
Yeah, that was a time, and I bring that up because that was a time when absolutely everything off the truck was heavy.
Mhm.
The speakers were made out of 1 inch thick birch, and the cases were heavy. Everything was made out of wood. The lighting was
The lighting was massive.
the
Yeah,
lighting rigs were massive, and you had to climb up there and focus it.
yeah,
The dimmers draw huge amounts of power
yeah,
that everything today is low wattage. And another thing too that it really sparked me when you just mentioned that case and the dimensions of that case, is that was back in the time too when bands would put together buy all these road cases, and nothing was meant to put in a truck. Everything was a different size. It was
right.
every show, every
Yeah,
loadout was the puzzle. How are we going
right,
to get the puzzle back in the truck?
right.
I've worked
It's
for
like a,
yeah,
it's like a
I've worked
game
for
of Tetris.
oh
Yeah.
every
Oh,
night.
yeah.
And I'm thankful that I've worked for companies that where every piece of equipment is designed around the truck back.
Yeah.
Every case it's 45 inches, 30 inches, it's 90 inches across. That's the math. 102 in a semi, and that's what it's all about. But
Yeah.
you mentioned Led Zeppelin. Back then, those kind of bands couldn't possibly give a fuck about how many more trucks it would take. Just did, and they're custom this and they're custom that. They just didn't care.
Yeah. Yeah. This one's yellow for some reason. I don't know why, but it's yellow. I've never seen, well, I have now, but at the time I didn't, you know, I mean, it was yellow. Why would it be yellow? But it was a lighting case.
Yeah, I've had. I think I even yellow cases out.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know there's blue ones and black ones and,
Any color you want, man.
gray and stuff like that. So I think Zeppelin probably had a color code system of, black goes on the stage and yellow is lighting, and blue goes backstage or whatever. I don't know, but I've kind of
Yeah,
weird.
if it was
Yeah,
lighting, it was definitely a spotlight case.
yeah, yeah.
You know,
I don't know.
nice man.
I was just glad to have it.
Yeah, and when did you have the epiphany that hey, this is really what it's all about for me, doing this. So like, what was your magic moment, your jump to light speed?
That I needed to focus on photography.
Yeah.
Uh, it really never happened. Um,
Any day
it,
now.
it's not really, I never looked at it as a job. I never looked at it as an income. I just like doing it. And
Yeah.
it's more of a hobby that fortunately, I make money at. It never struck me that, this is a job. This is a career. I never, I still don't, um, look at it as being a job. And it, which is weird because my grandfather was a famous photographer, and that's all he did, and that was his career as a photographer. But for me, I was pounded in my head, you got to go get a real job. And uh like, okay, I never thought this was a real job. I still don't.
Yeah, dig that. I mean, in the late '80s, when I quit drinking and quit cocaine binging, and just quit partying altogether for the
Right.
most part, to really put the brakes on it. I was like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah,
This is a career. Oh, this is an occupation. Oh, I can make money if I do this, that, the other thing.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I definitely dig that. Now, when did you start your website?
The website I started, I think 3 years ago, that I started collecting stuff and putting it on the website. Um, and everybody loves the stuff. I mean, I pretty much all the pictures have an attachment to me where, I remember what was going on in the photograph when I took the
Sure.
photograph, and stuff like that. Like, you know, stories. I wish I could put stories down. Having a conversation with Frank Zappa and, uh, Elton John and all the stuff that Steven Tyler and I talked about during the day. I wish there was some way to create the memory and put the memory on a video and show people that, because
You're
those,
doing it now.
yeah,
You're
those
doing
are
it now.
those are absolutely priceless moments. I
Yeah.
mean, really. I mean, Frank Zappa, talking to him, and I'm not a guitarist, so I thought I was a singer at one time. So, but I'm not a guitarist. But Frank Zappa was, I love that guy. I mean, him and I sat outside the Palace. I think it was called the Palace, right across the street from Capitol Records in Hollywood. Um, and him and I just sat there for probably 20 minutes, 30 minutes, two or three cigarettes, talking and just shooting the shit about whatever. And it wasn't about music. Um, it was just about whatever. And he said, "You really need to meet my little Bambino," or whatever the hell he called Steve Vai. And I said, "Okay." And he set up the meeting with Steve Vai that was playing over at FM station, or FM My Place, or My Place and FM station. And I took my friend Coco with me, and Steve liked my girlfriend Coco at the time. So that was, I mean, it's just really cool stories.
Yeah.
And I could go on forever about some of these people that I've met. And Ronnie James Dio wearing baseball uniform when I met him, and being a really nice guy. And Stevie Nicks handing me a particular flower in the group of flowers that she was holding. It was kind of bizarre, but it was just really cool stories. And
Yeah, that's the thing about dealing with celebrities, is that it's good for them to have a break from fandom, and just to hang with somebody,
uh,
just person to person, and not talk about music, and not talk about the gig, and not talk about anything. I got to have tea with David Bowie once at Radio City at the catering table, and it was just me and him just sitting there chatting and talking about the tea.
yeah, yeah,
And talking
uh,
about the kid, talking about the moment, right? And then
right.
later that night during the show, my job was to, he's going to walk onto the thrust, and the mic stand set there, which I set. He takes the mic off the stand, and I pull the stand down. That's my move. And when he came out there and grabbed the mic and looked down and saw it was me and gave me the wink, man, that was just, it was just so awesome for me,
Yes.
you know, that I
Yeah.
got to hang with one of my all-time heroes and just have a cup of tea with him and talk about nothing.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
that's what it's about, man.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, you know, you see these sci-fi movies where they, you know, input into your head and you see all these memories and stuff like that. I would love to have something like that happen. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of stories. There's a lot of things that I don't remember, but I remember bits and pieces of. You know, because I wasn't always a law-abiding citizen. So I don't remember a lot of them, but I remember little bits and pieces. There's another story that I like to tell is playing soccer with Robert Plant.
Let's hear it.
So I'm at Compton Terrace. I'm doing all the stage stuff. And I'm walking back and forth, and Robert Plant and a couple other people are kicking a soccer ball around. Well, the soccer ball rolled to me, and I kicked it back. And that's my story about playing soccer with Robert Plant.
Better than mine. I don't have one. But I have friends of mine that tour with him that say he's the best guy. Hey, man, legend has it you got a book coming out.
I do.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. I've got a book that's an 8x10 hardcover book with glossy photographs in it. There's going to be about 350 pictures in the book. A lot of rock stuff.
Any nudes?
And nudes.
I'm asking for a friend.
Yep. I've got some nudes in there, some tasteful nudes, because it's a family-friendly book.
Right.
But I've got tasteful nudes in there. I've got models. I've got actors, actresses, rock stars. Roger Fisher is one of my good friends, and he's in there quite a bit. And it's coming out in January of 24. And the foreword is being written by Mark Mann, who's a very famous photographer, and I'm very pleased and very humbled to have him write that for me, and I'm over the moon that he would do that for me. So, but that's coming out in January of 24.
That's awesome to be have some validation from your peers.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this is the one that I did a year and a half ago, I think. But this is what the book will look like.
Is that your book there?
That's my book. This is the second book that I put out.
Holy crap. And what's the name of that book?
That one's called the COVID years. All the photographs that I took in that were taken during the COVID years, where I was busier during the COVID years than I ever have been. So, you know,
you weren't an audio guy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I was lucky. I was in the NBA bubble. We were the only people in America working in the audio business.
Yeah, I have a studio here at the house, and I was shooting 2 or 3 times a day.
Wow.
For 2 years.
Yep. With a mask on, of course.
No. Because if I wore the mask, I couldn't see.
Well,
it would fog everything up. And
I've made
models and actors and actresses and anybody that came in couldn't wear a mask because I'm taking pictures of them.
How would you know who they were?
Yeah, we're gonna have to blacklist everybody and say you weren't wearing your mask at that point.
Yeah, go back to that. And that's great. And where could that book be found?
When it comes out in January of 24, you'll be able to be on the website, and there'll be a link on the website that you can get the book.
And for that book there, COVID.
That one is sold out. That's completely sold out. That and the first one that I've got are completely sold out.
Wow. You got to grab it while you can, man.
Yeah. I don't make too many copies of them. There's probably like 3,000 copies that are made of each book. But once they're gone, they're gone. And I'm sure that if I become more famous, talk about ego, Ed. If I become famous, hopefully we'll, I still have all the files and stuff like that, and hopefully we'll put those books out again. So
Well, what's important is that your work is good, and your work is authentic,
thank you.
and it's got a unique tilt to it. I mean, absolutely, man. I've been to your website. I've seen your pictures. I mean, they're awesome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, just straight up.
Thank you.
And the thing about you, anything that value is scarcity.
Right. Right. Yeah,
There's that's why no one's hoarding sand.
that's right. That's right. You got too much of it.
Yeah, but
But the photography what I like to focus on. The photography is the honesty. So I don't want fake smiles, like,
oh
I
yeah, yeah.
I want complete honesty, and that's something that I focus on. I don't want your smile. I want your soul. Uh, so what's that pirate? I can't think of the pirate's name and the Princess Bride, but I come for your soul.
Pirate and
Uh,
the Princess Bride.
yeah, Pirate Dread Roberts or Dread. I don't know what.
I'm gonna dig them up.
Yeah.
I can
So,
dig 'em
but
up.
that's what I like. I like the soul of people. And if you look at the pictures, that's what you'll see is the soul of the person.
Well, you've been known for stealing, and that's what the natives are saying.
That's what that's what I like. That's what I like.
That's awesome, man. Anything else that you'd like to drop today?
No, I'm good. I'm just busy working and working on the book and getting that filled up and doing more actors and actresses these days. There's a couple concerts that are coming, so I'm going to be doing those. But somebody asked me if I was doing this concert or that concert, and I said no. I'm not interested in new music, and most of my heroes are gone.
Yep.
And if they're not gone, they're very far and few between. So the concert thing is kind of going out, and actors and actresses are coming in. What I would like to do, if you've got people that are watching that are famous rock personalities, I would love to get a picture of whoever just sitting in their living room having a conversation, a black and white photograph, and not putting on a face, not being the rock star. Let's say Axl Rose sitting in his kitchen stirring coffee, whatever, I don't care, something like that, where they're not this rock persona, they're just a person, and I just want to take a portrait of the person, who they are, and not the rock star or the famous person that they are. Keanu Reeves working on his motorcycle,
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's really where I want to go. With the portrait stuff, I've got this photo shoot set up where I'm going to have this beautiful bride and this beautiful groom, all in these couture dresses and tuxes, standing there looking very beautiful. And behind them are 50 family members beating the living shit out of each other, throwing chairs and choking each other out. And, I really want it to be this big epic.
My family reunion.
Exactly. I want it to be an old time back east family reunion. It's just I have this vision in my head and I can't wait to see it. So yeah.
Well, I tell you what, I can't wait to see that vision as well,
Nice.
man.
Yeah.
And thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to tell me your story and what it's all about, man. Really, really great talking to you, man.
You're very welcome. Yeah, I appreciated it, and I love talking about stuff. And you're welcome anytime to hit me up. But I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate you doing this for me.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. It's been awesome.